ברוכים הבאים לפאנל שלנו. אנחנו נדבר על איך בונים אתר מאפס. זה יהיה פאנל מעניין מבחינת השפות, כי זה היה אמור להיות פאנל באנגלית, ואז יהיה קצת בעברית. אז בסופו של דבר, אנשים פה ידברו בשפה שנוחה להם. אני אשתדל לתרגם בקצרה בין ובין, נראה איך זה יתקדם. אף פעם לא עשיתי משהו כזה, אז זה יהיה מוזר. אבל יש לנו אורחים בינלאומיים פה, ולפחות שהם גם יבינו לפחות פאנל אחד. היו עוד כמה הרצאות באנגלית, אבל שירגישו גם בנוח פה. אתם יכולים לשאול שאלות בעברית אם יותר נוח לכם, ואנחנו גם אני אתרגם, או אם צריך, ואם לא, אז לא. ואני מקווה שתוך כל הבלגן השפתי הזה, אנחנו גם נוכל להניק לכם קצת מידע וידע. אז אוקיי. כמה אנשים פה, oh sorry, now I'm going back to English. Okay, so I'm going to talk in English and then, yeah, we'll see. So mostly this is, I think mostly it's going to be in English for the English speakers here. But we have people on the panel who feel more comfortable in Hebrew, and some people in the audience may ask questions in Hebrew. I will try to translate as much as possible. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully we'll manage, hopefully it won't be too crazy, and hopefully you'll still succeed in learning something in between all of the language craziness. All right. So this is a panel about how to build a website from zero, right? You have a need, you have a concept, you have a company, you have a business, and you need to build a website to represent that on the web. When I started out building websites, it was pretty simple. I built websites, just HTML and CSS way back when. And we didn't have to take into consideration that many things. SEO, search engine optimization, was pretty simple at that point, and nobody was talking about accessibility really. Usability was like new. Everything was new and not very sophisticated, so it was pretty, oh, thank you. So it was pretty simple. But today, there is a lot that you need to take into consideration when you're building a website for whatever purposes you have. So we have a great panel here, really excellent, very excited to be here with them, who have different backgrounds related to building or managing a WordPress for their needs, a WordPress website for their needs, and well, hopefully we'll hear a lot of different perspectives and learn. They're very smart people with a lot of experience. So first, they're each going to just like present up to 5 minutes on a specific topic that's like dear to their heart, or very important, that they feel is very important, related to the topic of the panel. So we'll start with Aviva. This is Aviva Cariger, all right? Aviva is a fellow native Canadian, and which means that she's nice and says sorry a lot. Aviva Cariger is the managing director of Illuminea, one of the leading WordPress agencies in Israel. I have a connection to that. For those of you who don't know, I founded that company, and then she was working for a company that acquired it. Anyways, she has nearly a decade of experience using WordPress and managing website development projects, but as a recent Ola, is relatively new to the Israeli WordPress scene, so treat her gently.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Miriam mentioned, I've been working in the WordPress world for about a decade now. First as a designer, then a developer, and then as a project manager and a team lead. From my experience, there's no two sites that are exactly alike, but most follow a similar pattern. And once I began to understand the patterns, I was able to ballpark the project costs better and mitigate the issues that arise. So what's in a plan? What do we do when a project comes to us straight from the initial lead? So the first thing that we do is we look at the platform and the technical requirements. So the first question we have to ask is, does WordPress make sense? Should the site be on WordPress? And sometimes that's an important question to ask, because it might, let's say, have a big e-commerce component, or it might have some sort of API connection or connection to other third-party integrations that would be better dealt with, let's say, a PHP or Laravel site or a Shopify site. So the first question really is this a WordPress site? And then once you determine that yes, it is, we usually split all of our projects into 3 different types. So the first type is like the medium-sized brochure type sites that don't have massive integrations, and for that we use Elementor Page Builder for the design and to build it out. The second type is a site that has either very specific design requirements or some sort of deeper integration that requires us to do the site as a custom site. And then the third type of site is something that we've been doing more recently, which is sort of a blend, where we'll do Elementor for the design, but then we'll use ACF or advanced custom fields to deal with the functionality. So the first thing that we do is, once we determine that it is a WordPress project, we put it into one of those categories, one of those types. And then we ask ourselves, okay, given the scope of work, what are the added requirements or functionality that's needed, be it integrate to socials or MailChimp or forms or whatever it is, what are the things that we need to know that it needs to integrate with, and what does it need to do? And then we look at what are the commonalities. So often we have this like folder theme, plugins, whatever it is, and we'll just upload it straight in because there's certain commonalities on each project that we can use to make things go a little bit faster. And then the last question we ask is, does the client have phase 2 or future plans that we know about now that we could basically use that information, even though we're not building something out now necessarily, but let's say we know in the future they're going to add this specific module or this thing, so can we build it in a certain way to foresee that so we don't have to go in and rebuild everything from scratch when phase 2 happens. So those are the questions we ask ourselves. And then how do we actually go about starting the project? So we have something that we call a project specifications document. And that document basically lays out the scope of work and the milestones and the payment schedule and all the details of the project. And then we have the client sign off on that so that they can't come to us later and be like, hey, you're supposed to do this thing and you didn't do it. So we find that that's sort of like a cover your ass kind of thing, and it's good to have. We run our projects through Trello, and we run them in a style called Kanban, if you're familiar with it. So we basically set up all the tasks of the project, or whatever we know at the time, and then we can basically, our boards are set up in a way that they all run in the same natural flow. So everything starts with the planning, then goes into wires, then goes into design, then development, then QA, and then completion. So by using that same system for all our projects, we found that it allows us to keep the natural flow of every project and to be able to see where they are in their cycle and what has to happen next. So those are the major, I think, 3 to 5 minutes of how we come at every project.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, next up we have Eitan Bוכman, who is one of the best and most creative marketers I know. Sorry for saying that in public, but it's true, and he's so funny. Best. Okay, Eitan Bוכman loves freight. Freight is mitan v'hovala, right? Yes. So much, he shouts out container sizes while he walks around. He works for a startup called Freightos. He's obsessed with content marketing, data storytelling, it's a thing, and bakes really good cookies. He's currently the chief marketing officer at Freightos, the world's largest online freight marketplace, hosts the Marketers and Capes podcast. It's a really good podcast, Marketers and Capes, you should check it out, and consults a number of startups and nonprofits. He's a former IDF spokesperson, still likes mini disc players, and has never skied ever.
Hey everybody, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah, okay. Pick up your hand if you like WordPress. Oh, this is so well.
Oh my gosh, those of you who didn't raise your hands, I don't know if
this guy right here. Oh, no, you got it.
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah. Okay, I don't care about WordPress, actually. This is an awkward place to say that.
That's why you're here.
So yeah, as Miriam said, I run marketing at a company called Freightos. We're an online freight marketplace, which sounds kind of boring, but it's really, really fun. We run a website, an application that helps importers around the world instantly search for freight quotes, find them online, and book it. It's really, really interesting. It's really, really fun. And it all starts with a website. And that's really how I kind of delved into the WordPress ecosystem. I'm kind of a geek. So I used to actually build websites in hypertext markup language and cascading style sheets as well. Yeah, I know what it stands for. I used to do that, and I left that. I just got sick of it. I'm not much for looking at lines of code. And I joined Freightos in 2013, or late 2012. And our website sucked. It was just really, really, really bad. And like a lot of startups, we had our R&D team working on it. And the main reason I'm really giving this context is that I think most people in this room are trying to sell to people like me, right? And my approach for this is not I need a WordPress website, or I need Elementor, or I need Avada. I definitely don't need Avada. I've discovered that. Sorry if there's an Avada person in the room here. I'm making friends, right? So yeah, I basically, in 2013, I joined Fredos, and I looked at the website, and it was crap. So I went to the R&D team, and I said, hey, I need this H1 tweaked, and I need a picture here, and the stock photo looks terrible. I need to change it. And they're R&D, and they're building a product, and we raised a lot of money in order to build an actual product, and their job was not to build a website. And every single time that I wanted to make a change, I was fighting with our underlying product team, and it's important. Everybody knows that a website is important. It's a welcome mat to your entire application. But I ended up getting in a lot of fights. And I never got the resources that I really need. And marketing today, at least as far as I see it, it's all about the flexibility and agility. Right? I want to be able to check out Product Hunt every single day. And I want to see if there's a new marketing tool that works out for me and just slam it onto the website. I don't want to run QA. Right? I don't want to check out if it'll work. I want to throw it up there. I want to see if it works. And if it helps my marketing and it A/B tests me to a little bit of success, then I want to put that into my marketing stack and figure out what the next step is. So I said, great, I need something that gives me a little bit of flexibility. So I tried WordPress. I tried a crappy, probably one of the basic themes that come together with WordPress. It worked out okay, did not look particularly professional. Our investors didn't like it. Our signups did not work so well. So at some point we said, okay, we need to start scaling this up. At this point, one of our core channels was SEO and content, and that means providing a really, really good user experience. So I went online and I started to look at which WordPress websites actually know what they're doing. And I know that WordPress theoretically works at scale, right? I know that TechCrunch uses it. I know that Quartz used it for a while. I know that some very, very large websites can make WordPress work for themselves. So I went out and somebody said, Avada is what works for you. Avada did not work for me, right? Avada, it ticked off some of the boxes, right? You could design things very easily. My team and my designer on the team were very capable of throwing together websites, but it just didn't work from my perspective because it was slow. And every extra second of load time kills my signups, it kills my users, and it kills money. Because we're spending over $200,000 a month in paid advertising. We're getting 8x or 9x the amount of traffic come from organic. And every extra second of load time, every time that something's a little bit buggy and doesn't load perfectly, I'm losing out on money. And that means that we're losing out on the bottom line for our company. And that means that it's lowering our valuation. Right? Every single time a page loads slower and doesn't give us the flexibility we need, we ended up getting hit. So we ended up going out, started actually working with Illuminate, with Miriam, and then started to work with Aviva and with Rebecca and a bunch of other people here, with Stratic. And I think when I look at what a WordPress website needs to do for me, again, it's not WordPress, it's what does a website need to do for me? It needs to provide me with a little bit of rigidity. It needs to provide me with structure. It needs to provide me with the capability to create a helpful customer journey. So I know how to engage with the customer that comes to my website. I can dynamically create content. I can put up a blog post, or I can put up a landing page, or I can put up a lead magnet, or I can even embed my application sign-up form into the website, and I can do that easily without needing to pull an R&D team into the loop. It needs to give me speed, right? It needs to load in under 6 seconds at least in order to help me convert my users. Because if I talk about providing a better user experience for companies that are importing or exporting, it has to start without them waiting for their page to load. It needs to be mobile friendly. That's where 8% of our signups come up. There's actually people that book full container shipments just from their website, from their cell phone, and I need to provide the right experience from there. It needs to have very, very good uptime. It needs to be dependable. It needs to be translatable, so I have to be able to put translations up easily. And yeah, occasionally that means like near WPML territory or some other type of linear translations. But it needs to be able to work for my needs. And what that ends up meaning for me is that WordPress, and I think this is really important for people that live and breathe WordPress, it's a means to an end. And WordPress is only as good as a solution that it can provide. And the question is, how can you take the flexibility of WordPress, and how can you take the ability to modify it to a customer's needs, to my needs, and tweak it to the point where I feel like the fact that I'm using WordPress and the fact that I'm using your services, Aviva services, works better than building it in-house and just getting a dedicated R&D person to work on it. So as a whole, I think that the balance that WordPress provides of being able to dynamically create content, get the right structure, get the right load time, and not invest R&D resources is what keeps me there as a user.
Thank you. I really wanted Eitan to be on this panel because a lot of us are like WordPress providers talking to each other, and I don't know how much we're addressing our users or the people that we're selling to, and so it's really good to get that perspective, and particularly from a startup. where every second of the page load matters to them from a financial point of view, and user experience also, all of these things really, really matter, and there's a lot to learn from that. So, thanks, Eitan. Okay, עכשיו אנחנו נעבור לקובי, שומר, כן. קובי שומר מעצב ויוצר בתחום, this one's going to be Hebrew. מעצב ויוצר בתחום הדיגיטל, הבעלים של סטודיו קובי שומר למיתוג בניית אתרי וורדפרס. מרצה ומלמד וורדפרס למעצבים במכללת פרוג. מכללת פרוג זה מכללה מאוד מאוד מרשימה לקהילה החרדית, ובסדנת אלוף הוורדפרס, סדנה לבניית אתרים שפיתח השנה. עכשיו, תורך, קובי.
אני אמור להציג את עצמי?
אז אם אתה רוצה להוסיף לזה, בבקשה.
אוקיי, קוראים לי קובי שומר, אני מעצב, במהות שלי אני יוצר, והתלבשתי על תחום של הדיגיטל. מסיבה פשוטה, אני רוצה לעשות כבר כסף פשוט, זה הכל. אני פה בשביל להתפרנס. נקודה. אני מאוד אוהב את מה שאני עושה. אין לי מושג למה ההפקה ביקשה שאני אגיע לפה, אני באמת לא יודע.
אנחנו כולנו זורמים.
כן, זורמים. אני גם מרצה ואני מלמד מעצבים, ואני מנסה לחפש את השליחות שלי בתחום הזה. מה שנראה לי כרגע זה שאני מלמד כרגע גרפיקאים ומעצבים גרפיים איך להיכנס לדיגיטל. כרגע בכל המכללות בארץ יש לכם מחלקות של עיצוב גרפי, וזה נשאר כבר המון שנים באותו מצב, דפוס, הם יודעים רק דפוס. וכשהם יוצאים משוק העבודה הם תקועים. היום לא מקבלים אף אחד לתחום הגרפי בלי שידע בדיגיטל, הוא צריך לדעת להקים אתרים ועמודים. אז אני משתמש בפלטפורמה הזאת גם ללמד. אני גם עושה עבודה ואני מקווה שאני עושה עבודה טובה עם הלקוחות שלי. אני נותן להם שירות טוב. זהו.
Okay, מעולה, תודה. I just realized I didn't introduce myself. I tend to forget to do that. So my name is Miriam Schwab. Yes, I'm a big fan in the front, who's very loud. I founded a WordPress development agency called Luminea. It was acquired and subsequently co-founded Stratic. And I'm also the CEO of Stratic. Stratic is a next-generation WordPress hosting platform where we convert the WordPress websites to static and serverless in one click. That means there's no database, no underlying processing server. The site is a collection of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So there's nothing to hack. The sites are exponentially faster and infinitely scalable. So that's me. Okay, now onto the question. So I'm going to start with asking Kobe a question in Hebrew. Kobe, אתה בונה אתרים ללקוחות שלך, נכון? וכשאתה בונה אותם, מה הדבר הכי קריטי או הכי חשוב שהלקוחות שלך מבקשים או דורשים או מצפים?
מה הם דורשים? אוקיי. הם מגיעים בשבילם, כל התחום של האינטרנט זה יפנית. מי שבונה אתרים מכיר את זה. הם חסרי ביטחון לחלוטין והם מצפים שמומחה יטפל בהם. אז אני קודם כל מציג את עצמי כמומחה ואני דואג להיראות כמומחה, וגם הפגישה הראשונה שלי איתם היא פגישה שהיא עולה כסף ומשלמים עליה. והפגישה הזאת אני יושב איתם ואני עושה איתם תהליך שיווק בכלל. אני מאפיין להם צרכים שיווקיים של העסק שלהם, ואני בונה להם אפיון של כל עמודי האתר, ואני יושב איתם רק על עמוד הבית, ומתכנן להם עמוד הבית שמניע לדבר אחד בלבד, פעולה. ואז מה שקורה זה שהם לא יודעים בכלל שהם צריכים להניע לפעולה. הם לא מכירים את העולם הזה, הם לא מבינים את הדבר הזה. ואז אנחנו יושבים וחוקרים בדיוק לאיזה פעולה העסק שלהם צריך להוביל את הגולש. זאת אומרת שגולש נכנס לאתר תדמיתי מסוים, צריך לקרות שם משהו, או צריך או להירשם, או לרכוש מוצר, או ליצור קשר עם, להזמין איזשהו שירות, כל דבר. אז אנחנו יושבים ומתכננים הנעה לפעולה. זה גם הדבר הראשון שאני מלמד את הסטודנטים שלי, שאני יושב איתם ומלמד אותם. התקופה של תדמית יושבת באינטרנט נגמרה. כרגע הגולשים נכנסים 3-4 שניות, אם לא נתת לו שם איזה אקשן רציני, הוא בורח. אז צריך לתת שם אקשן מאוד מאוד חזק, והנעה לפעולה מאוד ברורה וטובה. אז זה הדבר הראשון שאני עובד איתו.
אוקיי, תודה. Aviva, so Eitan, you mentioned something which I could really relate to, which is that you need some rigidity in the site, right? So when we were building websites, we had an approach where with great power comes great responsibility. Like on the one hand, the client wants to be able to control everything, and on the other hand, you could end up with a site that has like Comic Sans all over it in the end because they thought that looked fun and cool, but it just looks really, really terrible, and just because they don't have a design background. In your experience with the site that you met, I'm going to ask both of you, so I'll start with, okay, so with Aviva. where do you find that you give your clients flexibility, and where do you limit their ability to change the site?
So it's a good question. I say it really depends on the client themselves and how much we trust them to make good decisions post-launch to keep the brand consistent. But one of the things that I think is sort of the blend of that is that if you use advanced custom fields, then what they can do is go in and change the content, and they can have that flexibility to change their messaging and do things like that, but not necessarily destroy the full context of the design. When we do Elementor sites, there is a fair amount of hoping that they will then go in after and not make massive changes that will cause it to really change the structure of the design. But really, if it's someone who on their team they have a marketing person that can take care of the design and they can take care of, we're basically giving them the structure, then we would give them full, they can do whatever they want and they can make it better. We just sort of gave them the framework for it.
Yeah, advanced custom fields is amazing from that point of view because you can give a lot of flexibility, right? But they just have control over the text and not over the design. Eitan, so with regards to marketing, like using the website as a marketing tool, which is basically your main goal with it, from what I understand. What would you say are the three most important features or aspects of a site that you need as a marketer in order to achieve your goals on the site?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it comes into play before you even write a line of code or start really building the website. Right. Every website has a goal, and every page on that website should have a goal. It should be a brand play, it should be a conversion play, it should be a sign-up play, and you really need to know what that actual underlying goal is before you start designing it. So I think a big part of it, and I really encourage people that are building websites for other people to do this, is to push the client to define those goals. A good marketer should do that themselves. If they're not, that's your job. Like, your job is to help make sure that they know what they want, because otherwise they'll be on the fence, they'll be confused, and they'll come to you with problems. So I think that the first thing is just coming in with a very, very clear view of what your conversion is, right? What every single individual page should do, and what the customer journey on a page level is. Right? If you want people to click a button, where are the buttons? If you want a pop-up banner, where's the pop-up banner? The second thing is that the fine line of flexibility. So we try as much as possible before we start looking for web changes, for changes to the underlying structure, we'll try to A/B test as much as we could. So we rely very heavily on Google Optimize in order to run small tests when it comes to text changes, when it comes to small design changes, before we roll it out across the entire website. And that means that the entire team, everybody, we have 8 or 9 people on the team that work with WordPress on a regular basis. We need to do an internal rollout process to make sure that every single person understands exactly what they can do and what they can't do. And if there's something that they can't do, we have one person on the team who's tapped to manage Google Optimize and make sure that they can run smaller A/B tests in order to figure out what do we need to design, what do we need to build, and then once we have that, what can we scale up? I think the third thing is that you never really know what you're coming in for, right? Sometimes you wake up in the morning, you'll say, I have this amazing idea, how do I roll it out? And you never want the website to be the roadblocker for that. Right? There's enough other things that we have in our mind in terms of distribution, in terms of the underlying content that you deliver, in terms of the customer interactions and the points of engagement after they download something. You don't want the blocker to ever be the actual website. So we've tried to come up with a whole suite of off-platform pages or off-platform tools that we can use. If it's Typeform, if it's just uploading what Amazon does, right? Amazon will create landing pages that 80% of the landing page is just a big JPEG, right? Just to validate something. So we'll do a lot of off-platform validation before we end up turning that into an actual page template. And in that respect, I think the most helpful thing that we built into our current website are some pretty flexible page templates that let us really change. The best thing that we really have is a gravity-formed field that we flip it with different gravity forms. So if we want just a button, we'll use the gravity forms button. If we want a longer form, we'll put in the gravity forms form. You can do multi-stage forms, and that really provides us with a lot of flexibility to experiment with different types of stuff. So I think those 3 things probably really encompass the underlying goal, which is really just conversions and driving sign-ups or driving bookings or driving the ability to drop retargeting here, right? Something that drives marketing value.
Great. קובי, הלקוחות שלך הם בדרך כלל איזה סוגים של לקוחות הם?
עסקים קטנים ובינוניים.
כן?
בעיקר כאלה שפתחו עסקים. רק לפני זה, את שאלת אותה איך...
גמישות או...
מול הלקוח, מתי הוא מתערב בעבודה ומתי לא.
פחות בעבודה, אבל אולי תתייחס לזה, זה היה יותר כאילו מבחינת המבנה של האתר, איפה הלקוח יכול לשנות דברים ועד איפה, כאילו
כן, זה סיפור מאוד רציני, כולם בבעיה הזאת. אני אגיד לך מה, יש הגדרה כזאת שנקראת חלוק לבן, כן? חלוק לבן של רופא, כשאת מגיעה לרופא, לא עלינו, אם יש איזו בעיה, את לא מתערבת לו בעבודה, הוא מומחה, הוא מגיע והוא חותר. עכשיו צד שני, תהיה לכם מכונאי רכב, אותו דבר, אתה לא מבין בזה, אתה חייב לסמוך עליו ב100%. אני מנסה להגיע כמה שיותר למצב הזה, כשהלקוח מסתכל מולי והוא רואה או רופא או מוסכניק והוא סומך עליו ב100%, אם מוסכניק זה פחות דוגמה, עם הרופא זה כבר יותר טובה, כן? ברגע שאני מצליח לפצח את הדבר הזה מהלקוח, זהו, העבודה רצה. מה קורה? אם זה לא מסתדר, ואני לא מומחה פה, חייב להיות פה איזה מומחה, אז זאת תהיה או אשתו, או החבר המעצב שלו, או החברה המעצבת האופנה שלו, מישהו יכתיב פה את הקצב של העבודה. כן, חייב להיות מומחה בתוך הסיפור הזה, זה צריך לדאוג שאנחנו נהיה מומחים, שהוא יבין את זה ושזה יהיה אמיתי, שאנחנו נהיה באמת מומחים טובים בוורדפרס. זהו, מה רציתי לשאול?
אוקיי, כן. לא, זה מאוד חשוב, זה נושא מאוד מעניין באמת. הניסיון שלי, אפילו עם כל ה-reputation של מומחים כמומחי וורדפרס, הלקוחות באים והם עדיין המומחים. כן, בדעת עצמם. אז צריכים לקחת את זה בחשבון, זה אף פעם לא 100%, אתם המומחים, אתם תעשו מה שאתם רוצים, צריכים לתמרן בין זה שאנחנו באמת רוצים, יודעים מה אנחנו צריכים לעשות בשבילכם, וגם צריכים לקחת בחשבון את הדעה שלהם ברמה מסוימת, ולפעמים לחיות עם התוצאות. יש לא מעט אתרים שבנינו, שבסוף אנחנו לא היינו הכי גאים בהם, כי הלקוח דרש, וזה מה שהיינו חייבים לבצע כדי שהם יהיו מרוצים בסוף, אפילו אם זה לא היה לדעתנו הכי טוב. אז רציתי לשאול אותך, האם הלקוחות שלך מבקשים שתעשה אינטגרציות עם כלים צד שלישי, כמו, השאלה היא אולי הם קטנים יותר, כמו סיילספורס או HubSpot או דברים כאלה, מיילצ'אפ אפילו שזה פשוט.
מגיעים אליי אתרי תדמית בעיקר. והדבר היחידי שמתחברים, כולם מתחברים זה לאתרים של CRM, של איסוף לידים, רב מסר, מיילצ'ימפ. עכשיו, הרבה פעמים הם לא מכירים את זה, אז אני צריך לקחת על הכתפיים שלי את ההסבר איך לעשות את זה, ואני עוד פעם שם את הכובע של המשווק. אני מסביר לו איך בונים רשימת תפוצה, איך מחברים אותה, זה שירות אקסטרה שנותן לו לבנייה של האתר. זה שירות אקסטרה, כל המרקטינג, זה מסתיים שם בדרך כלל, הצד שלישי, שם זה מסתיים. אני אגיד לך מה, אני בכלל, בעבודה שלי בוורדפרס, משתדל להיות כמו השפים. יש שף, קוראים לו, שכחתי, יש לו מתכון של כרובית, הוא לוקח כרובית.
אדוני.
לא, ישראלי. ישראלי, כן. יש לו כרובית כזאת, לוקח כרובית, שם אותה במים, מלטף אותה עם שמן, קצת מלח, שם בתנור, מוציא, חותך וזורק על נייר. כן, איך? אייל שני. כן, יפה. אני מנסה להיות כמוהו בתחום. מינימום של המינימום של טכנולוגיה. המינימום של המינימום, להתקין וורדפרס, אלמנטות שאני עובד איתם, חיבור לחברת שיווק שמושכת את הלידים, ואני משתדל כמה שיותר להיות מינימליסט בסיפור הזה, גם מבחינה עיצובית, העיצוב של מי שמכיר אותי אני מינימליסט, וגם מבחינה טכנית. כמה שאני זה פחות באגים, פחות כאב ראש, וזה יצא הרבה יותר מקצועי, אני חושב.
כן, נכון. עדיף בהחלט ללכת לכיוון הזה. So, okay, now, Aviva, just if the English speakers among us, we were just talking about cauliflower. Because of course. So from my experience working with clients, they come and they are very sure they know what they need, right? And often they'll say, I need to use this tool. But they don't necessarily need to use this tool. They have a certain goal, right? And so you need to ask them the questions in order to determine what it is they need to achieve that goal. Maybe it's the tool that they said, and maybe it's something else. And in general, we have to kind of be their advocates in the project. So what's your experience with that in terms of making sure that you're understanding what your clients' needs are and representing them, and while also helping them understand that what they think they need isn't necessarily what they need?
So I learned a good trick from Rebecca, who was like, ask a million questions until they're so sick of you that they don't even want to hear about your project anymore. But basically, it's all about the communication at the beginning, and the more you delve into what you're getting into, the more you are safer in the long run. I think we've all anyone who's sort of run an agency or has sort of been running their own WordPress projects has gotten that job at the beginning where they really wanted it, and so they went in very low money and they didn't ask the right questions, and then 10 months later we're still building that site and we're losing money by the day. So we try to avoid that. With a lot of times it's impossible to know what's going to come, but I find that, I mean, it seems obvious. Ask the right questions and try and figure out what the base is for what they're trying to get at, and then they might know a tool that they want from 4 years ago and something new and better has come out, and then it's just a matter of us keeping up with the different technologies to be like, hey, this new thing came out and it's doing really well, maybe you should try that instead. Great.
Okay, so we have like 10 minutes left, so if there are people in the audience who want to ask questions, now's your chance. Yes, question.
How do you stay updated on all the new technologies and all the updates, how do you stay on top of everything?
I mean, I use Product Hunt and I follow a couple of blogs. I have a list of competitors in this space and websites that use WordPress, and I usually use BuiltWith to just check out their website every couple of weeks and see if they have anything new that's integrated there. I like to play around with things a lot. I think one of the core advantages of WordPress is that it has flexibility. So if you're not pushing it to the max and you're not actually using new tools and you're not trying new plugins, like Google came out yesterday with a lazy loading plugin. If you're not trying that out, sorry, Aviva, you just put it on your website today. If you're not trying that on, if you're not trying things out and you're not actually reading up on things and just like setting them live, then I think you're losing out on a huge advantage that WordPress has. So definitely following the right blogs, looking at competitors and other people that move really, really quickly. Right? There's some, probably more in the Bay Area, but there's some growth stage companies that use WordPress that can be kind of best practice guidance. So just following what people are doing, not what they're saying, and then trying to implement it yourself and see how well it works.
Hi. I know this is a WordPress conference, but if you could think of 2 or 3 tools that are not WordPress that like you couldn't live without, like whether it's marketing or whether it's wireframing tools or whatever. I don't know. I think it would be interesting to hear.
Trello and Slack. We run our entire business through Trello and Slack.
I think for me it has to be Zapier. We have the team account. Every single person that joins my team, we put them through a half-day training on Zapier. A good, probably 20% of the features that we launch on our product, the marketing team builds first on Zapier, or sometimes with a little bit of Python. But that, Trello with Slack, that integrates into all of them. I think also rapid design and iterations. I was going to say this earlier on. When you work within a company, right, if you're not approaching WordPress as an outsource, when you work within a company, you will never have a designer and an R&D person that will build something without a very clear spec. Right? Every single thing that we end up developing, we'll see a mock-up and we'll see a wireframe, then we'll see it in InVision, it'll get exported to Zeppelin, there will be like a breakdown of every single thing we want, and it'll be pixel perfect. And the marketing team, if we have copy that we want, that has to show up in the InVision mockup, right? We're not going to come up with it afterwards. So making sure that you take those best practice tools that product designers internally at a company hold themselves to, and holding their clients to it, and holding yourselves as an agency to using it, is the only way you're going to come out with a product that's as good as what the company is used to using internally, I think.
שאלה נוספת? אפשר? שקיעו. כן, הטרלו, אני עובד עם הטרלו מאוד חזק. טרלו מנהל לי הכל, תכלס, כן. כן, שאלה עכשיו בעברית, לקובי. אמרת מקודם שאתה לוקח תשלום עבור הפגישות הראשונות. עשיתי גם קורס של WP Elevation של טרוידין, אתה מכיר באוסטרליה. בן מדהים, הוא גם מאוד חשוב לעניין הזה, גם הוא מדבר על discovery meetings, שבעצם מגלים עם הלקוח מה הוא באמת צריך. הוא אומר לקחת על זה כסף, כמו שגם אתה עושה את זה. השאלה היא, טוב, הוא אומר את זה, הוא לקהל האוסטרלי. השאלה פה עם הקהל הישראלי, איך זה עובד? זה עובד מצוין. כן? זה עובד מעולה. זה עובד מעולה, אני אגיד לך מה. אני פגישות היכרות ציינתי אחרי שהתחתנתי. אני לא מקיים פגישות היכרות. נגמר הסיפור של היכרויות, אני עושה היכרויות בטלפון. עכשיו תראה, בשביל להגיע למצב שבן אדם בלי להכיר אותך מגיע ושופך אצלך, אני לוקח 1,000 שקל, כן? בשביל להגיע למצב הזה, אז אתה צריך להיות קצת מומחה, הוא צריך להכיר בך כמומחה. אתה צריך להגיע למקום הזה, זה נכון, אתה צריך להגיע למקום הזה, אבל תדע לך, כשאני מלמד אנשים וורדפרס, אני מלמד אותם בתודעה להיכנס למקום הזה. ברגע שאתה יודע להתקין תבנית, אתה יודע לעבוד עם תוספים, אתה יודע להתקין שרת, לעבוד על השרת, אתה מומחה לדיגיטל. תיכנס לתודעה של מומחה, ותשב עם הלקוח ותסביר לו שאתה בונה לו תוכנית. זה לא פגישת היכרות, אני לא יושב איתו ומדבר איתו על העסק שלו, אני יושב איתו ובסוף הפגישה הוא יוצא עם תוכנית מאוד מאוד ברורה ומדויקת. אני מדפיס את המסמך הזה, ובמסמך הזה הוא יכול ללכת ולבקש הצעות מחיר. זאת אומרת, אני עובד בשבילו, זו פגישת עבודה לכל דבר. עכשיו אני אגיד לך מה הסוד בכל הסיפור הזה, כשבן אדם מוציא כסף, הוא ממשיך להוציא כסף. בן אדם לא מוציא כסף, הוא לא ממשיך להוציא כסף. אתה תפגש איתו, אתה תשרוף שעות של עבודות, של תכנון, כן? והוא ילך, והוא לא יחזור אליך, והוא גם קצת יזלזל. ברגע שהוא פותח את הכיס ונותן לך, אוטומטי הוא מתחיל לכבד אותך בצורה יותר גבוהה, כן? וסביר להניח שהוא ימשיך איתך. לא קרה לי שלקוח שילם ולא ימשיך איתי, לא קרה לי דבר כזה. כן קרה לי כשלקוח הגיע, קיבל תוכנית, קיבל מסמך ונעלם. אתה מבין? כן? אני מספר לך עכשיו תובנה שלקח לי 10 שנים להגיע אליה. במשך 10 שנים נפגשתי עם אנשים והכנתי להם תוכניות.
So he asked about paying for the site specification, like the תוכנית עבודה, like paying for the first stage. So we totally started adopting that in our agency because it's like the blueprint of a house. That's how we saw it. Like you can't build a house without creating a blueprint, right? If you do, then it's going to fall down. So we presented that value to our clients. If we don't build this plan for you for this site, then it's not going to do what you need it to do. We're not going to know exactly what your goals are, who your target audience is, and this is part of the project. And we have to do this first, and it's a paid project. And then we did say to them, you can take this plan and you can go to anyone else and have them build a site for you. And they learn a lot through the process too. Generally, like Kobe said, they would stick with us and we'd build a site for them. But it is a lot of work, especially if the site is a much more complex site. It could be tens, even 100 hours of work in order to get it all in place with the wireframes and everything before you start doing one thing related to building the site. And that's very valuable for them and critical for the project and deserves to be paid for, in my opinion.
ואתם משתמשים בבלופרינטס בשביל הפגישות האלה? יש לכם סוגי לקוחות או שזה כבר...
At first we had a template and then we realized that everyone is different. Like it was always different, especially as we worked with bigger companies with more complex needs. But we had, questions that we always asked. And then the questions would develop as we ask more questions. And that's how we work.
Guys, we have to wrap it up. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
תודה רבה.